This is VSiN, the sports betting network.
The numbers told the story. They always do.
It's one of those idiots who believe in analytics.
This is a numbers game with Gil Alexander on VSiN.
Good Wednesday morning to you. It is a numbers game at VSiN, the sports betting network, VSiN.com, Game Plus, iHeartRadio, YouTube TV, and of course, SiriusXM channel 158. It's Gil Alexander. It's Danny Higgins once again in for Kelly Bidlin, who's still suffering from the migraine. A little better today?
A little better today, yeah. I spoke to him yesterday, and I think you just need one more day. Be all ready to go for Thursday.
Kelly was like, I don't want to do 10 days of Super Bowl 60 talk. Let me get a migraine up in here.
Yeah.
We hope Kelly gets better and is back tomorrow in the chair. Poor kid, man, with the migraines. That's tough. We will try to make do in his absence. Today on the show, Will Hill with all of his bets, Super Bowl 60 and beyond. We'll also hear from Warren Sharp a little later on Super Bowl 60. Toddy Wishnev in the hizzy a little later with his college hoops. Paul Carr with a little Champions League. And Greg Peterson a little later this hour talking college hoops with us. By the way, Nick Whalen as well on the show talking Super Bowl and NBA with us. Greg Peterson, going to have to ask him about this game last night between Nebraska and Michigan, where Nebraska basically led the whole way, almost the whole way, and then Michigan clips them at the end. Nebraska without two of their better scorers in the game as well, and yet they comport themselves very well. I almost feel better about Nebraska after the loss than I did even beforehand. Gives me some Indiana vibes, Indiana football vibes, right? Traditional basketball school wins the football championship. Traditional football school just now knocked from the ranks of the undefeated. But, man, comported themselves very well yesterday in a game where a lot of people thought they were going to get blown off the court. So we'll talk to Greg about that. And, this, for God's sakes, how did I not lead with this? Later, ladies and gentlemen, let me just say this. Halftimes, usually, we've done a little cottage industry here on a numbers game, the Beating the Book podcast, Betting Dork before that, about doing halftimes. Bruno Mars, Katy Perry, whatever they were through the years, we used to cash big on these things. I'm going to sit here and tell you, maybe I got old on this one, but I don't know anything about Bad Bunny. I don't. And I'm not going to sit here and act like I do, because my ear doesn't even hear the difference between some of these songs. That's how non-Bad Bunny-ish I am.
I'm going to agree with you. I don't know too much about him.
So I don't know which song's going to be first. I think that's just one of those things where you're going to have to get the intel 3 days before when there's a rehearsal, or 2 days before, and then go from there. But we have a full national anthem breakdown later in the show.
Oh, yeah.
Charlie Puth singing the national anthem. Will it be over 122 seconds? 2 minutes and 2 seconds for those who need the conversion. Or under 122 seconds. The juice is on the over. We'll talk about this. A way too deep dive. Is that a thing? Way too deep of a dive on the Super Bowl national anthem with Charlie Puth singing it. Good for Charlie Puth, by the way. You familiar with Charlie Puth's works?
A little bit, not too much. I know the name, I should say per se, but I'm not super familiar with all of them.
He is a musical genius. So we'll talk about that later on the show. Oh, and I got to chime in on Belichick at some point.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe even at the top.
Oh,
Who
my
knows?
God.
First, tennis. Let's talk tennis. Ladies and gentlemen, yesterday, there are bad beats, and then there are bad beats that you will probably remember forever because of the nature of the bad beat. We had a couple matches yesterday. We had a couple quarters on the line, if you followed all the plays here. So on the matches, we end up splitting for a really modest gain. Iga loses to Elena Rybakina. Rybakina just the better player. So we lost on that one. Iga was a slight dog. And then we won on Jessie Pegula, who beat fellow American Amanda Anisimova. Jessie Pegula now the only American left in either of the semifinals at the Australian Open, the first slam of the year. So we get the small gain on the matches, but we hit the quarter on Jessie Pegula. So everybody who bet Pegula with us Q3, 4-1 odds, bang, that's a winner for us. We also continue with Pegula now to win the whole thing. We have her at 31-1 as well, so that remains alive. But the quarter cashes. The other quarter we had on the line, I didn't back this up with a bet yesterday. I didn't want to double. I doubled up on Pegula, but I wasn't willing to double up on Lorenzo Musetti, because he was facing Novak Djokovic, and it was good enough to just let the quarter ride for me, even though I thought there was value on on Mussetti's number yesterday. Well, what did we say? Drew Dinsick was on yesterday. We both sort of said, even if Musetti goes up 2-0, 2-0 we are not going to be all that confident because Novak Djokovic is on the other side of the court. What we did not anticipate was how this went down. Musetti up 2-0 yesterday over Novak. And then at the beginning of the third set, all of a sudden you can see the leg is bothering him. I don't know if it's a groin. I don't know what the story was. It was not quite clear what part of the leg is from whence the injury comes. But it was apparent he couldn't move. And then, of course, Novak breaks him because he can't move. And Novak sees this. So Novak, 38 years old and done for in this match. He admitted as much afterwards. He goes, I was leaving. I was going to be done. Musetti can't continue. We come one set away from hitting our plus 650. By the way, I had a straight 9-1 on it too. But plus 650 was the official bet on Lorenzo Musetti to win quarter 3. And I will probably remember this tournament. This tournament ends up being a profitable one on matches. Not the most profitable ever. I almost take more pride in this one being profitable at all because it was so chalky that you had to be really precise on which underdogs you hit through this tournament. So I'm pumped about that. We also now, with the Pegula quarter win, the futures are a wash at best, right? Or a wash at worst now at this point. Because even if we lost all the other futures, it's a wash. But we still have Pegula going to win the whole thing at 31-1. Pardon me. But, man, if Musetti wins the quarter, which he's on the cusp of doing, and Djokovic admits as much that it's about to happen, what a great tournament this will be. I'll always remember it for the Musetti injury now.
That's so tough.
Yeah. It's a brutal way to go down. We do have one play today, though, at the Australian Open, the semifinals. This might end up being my last match play for the Australian Open. I don't know, but I'm thinking it could be. I'm on Pegula again versus Elena Rybakina. So the women turn around and play the semis today. The men's semis are tomorrow, and the men still has Jannik Sinner going up against Djokovic, still has Carlos Alcaraz going up against Sasha Zverev. As Drew said, the men's tournament starts on February 1st when it's the finals. But I have Pegula at plus 181 versus Elena Rybakina in the semis tonight. Rybakina was great yesterday. When she is on, she is tough to beat. But like with Iga, this is a numbers play for me, and Jessie Pegula should not be plus 181. The two of them are 3-3 lifetime. Rybakina won the most recent two of these, but those were indoor hards, and those indoor hard courts are faster than what this Australian Open hard court surface is. This is a very moderate hard court surface in Melbourne. I love Pegula, plus 181, to get it done against Elena Rybakina. Could be the final Australian Open play of the tournament. But there it is. That's just the Musetti thing is just brutal.
Let's go Pegula.
Let's go, Jesse.
Let's go.
Let's do it. All right. Should we talk about this Bill Belichick thing real quick?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Before we get into all the guests. Bill Belichick, for those of guys in case you've been trapped under a heavy object, was not voted into the NFL Hall of Fame on the first ballot yesterday. That was the reporting of Seth Wickersham and Don Van Natta, that Bill Belichick failed to get the requisite 40 out of 50, 80% of the votes needed to be put in on the first ballot. So that means at least 11 of 50 at the very least said, nah, we're good. Make them wait a year. I'm putting words in their mouth, but I think that's what they're saying, right? Now, I just want to say this too. I'm going to be a little more nuanced than most before I jump on everybody's, jump on the side of everybody else. This is exactly I'm going to be consistent with what I say about Barry Lamar bonds in baseball, right? I do it every year about Barry Lamar bonds in baseball. It's like, put him in, and then if you want to put a plaque that says, he was alleged to have taken performance-enhancing drugs, right? With Bill Belichick, you can say, put him in. There was Spygate, there was Deflategate, right? There was all these things, but good God, put him in. Now, I want to say that this is not the same as Bonds, because Bonds is incomparable. Bill Belichick, I just want to say this. The guy on the trophy, Vince Lombardi, was not a first ballot guy either. He was a first ballot. He got in when he was a finalist the next year. Same with Joe Gibbs, right? Who won 3 Super Bowls with 3 rando quarterbacks compared to Bill Belichick's Tom Brady. He was not put in on the first ballot either. It was the next time when he was put in as a finalist. So it's not unprecedented, right? The only, who are some examples of the first ballot guys, Don Shula, Chuck Noll, Tom Landry. So I just want to say, on the one hand, it's not unprecedented in that respect. But guess who else is in the Hall of Fame? So we can quibble about that. Guess who else is in? Marv Levy, who never won a Lombardi trophy. Tom Flores, who only had 6 winning seasons. Don Coryell, who was like 111, 83, and 1. Bill Belichick's resume is unassailable. Here it is. 302 wins, third most. 6 Super Bowl wins, 9 AFC championships, 9 Super Bowl appearances, 19 consecutive winning seasons. So even if you dislike the guy, right? Even if you think he's guilty with Spygate and Deflategate, even if you think he's just a horse's you-know-what in his press conferences, whatever you think of the guy, how arrogant are Hall of Fame voters across sports that they would keep a dude like this out on the first ballot? It is really the most ridiculous thing ever. And there should be, again, I don't know if the outrage has subsided with Bonds, or if people just, if I can't put my finger on what it is about Bonds that you are not as outraged about with Belichick, but it's the same exact sort of thing, right? It's just like, what are we doing? The Halls of Fame are these museums that we are stewards of from generation to generation. How arrogant of us to feel as if we can prevent future generations from seeing these in, or in the case of Bill Belichick, how arrogant we are to make him pay this price for your personal feelings about him rather than what actually took place on the field itself. It's just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. We'll come back. Will Hill with all of his bets across the sports betting landscape. It's a numbers game at VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Laptop or phone, couch or sportsbook, VSiN goes where you go. Wherever you watch VSiN, the experience stays seamless. Live shows, replays, and sports-specific clips all at your fingertips. VSiN Watch puts you in the driver's seat. Available in Roku, Samsung, Amazon, iOS, Android, app stores, or get it direct from the source at VSiN.com. Download VSiN Watch today on your favorite app store and join us on the Sports Betting Network.
This is VSiN, a network of sports betting analysts, writers, hosts, and handicappers, all here to help you become a more confident bettor. We broadcast live every day from Las Vegas, the sports betting capital of the world, and from studios across the country, giving you insight from every angle of the action. Take VSiN with you wherever you go with the VSiN Watch app, or catch us on streaming platforms and regional sports networks. You can also listen live on SiriusXM channel 158 and on radio stations nationwide. Check out VSiN.com as well for betting tools, exclusive betting splits, AI-powered player prop projections from Opta, pro picks for every game, plus in-depth betting guides and articles built to give you an edge. From sharp betting analysis and daily best bets to insider interviews and expert breakdowns, VSiN is your trusted source for everything happening in the world of sports betting. See everything we have to offer at VSiN.com and become part of the Sports Betting Network.
Coming up on the next edition of Follow the Money, a loaded Wednesday, Jeff Seeley, Best Bets, Farmers Insurance Open. His guy Kepka's back. Sal Powell to preview the Super Bowl. Mike Palm with You Cannot Be Serious. Steve Wiss after a 4-1-1 appearance to talk Premier League and soccer. And Matt Humans with his best bets and hoops and an early look at some Super Bowl props. Follow the Money, 4 to 7 Eastern on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network, Sirius XM Channel 158.
VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Don't forget our website in full effect at VSiN.com. Greg Peterson's college basketball best bets. Greg will be joining us shortly. Wes Reynolds' Farmers Insurance Open Preview. And Zachary Cohen explains why the Cavs are a good bet. Have to check out exactly what bet he's referring to. Later today, you can check out Zach Cohen's NBA best bets in total, Jonathan Davis's NHL picks and props, and Adam Burke has his best bets for college hoops. Right now, use promo code ANG to save $60 off a VSiN Pro annual subscription at VSiN.com/subscribe. Back to Belichick for a second here. We were quoting the regular season wins, for which he is third. If you add playoff wins, right, that puts him up to 333. Then he's second most behind Shula. But I hope people understand, just holding two thoughts in your heads at the same time, because someone can come back. The reason I bring up Vince Lombardi, the guy on the trophy, and then Joe Gibbs, who won 3 Super Bowls with 3 rando quarterbacks as compared to Tom Brady, is because if you break down Bill Belichick's winning percentage, it's 769 with Tom Brady, right? 249 and 75. His winning percentage without Tom Brady is 83 and 104, 449. So again, there is one school of thought. It's like, okay, this is not unprecedented. Like other coaches are actually had a almost as good of a case, if not better, to have gotten in on the first ballot, and they didn't, is my point. But they all should be in, is my overriding point, right? They all should be in. And Bill Belichick won 6 Super Bowls. It's just, it doesn't matter what you think of him otherwise. What happened, happened. Just like the ball did go off Barry Bonds' bat over the fence, right? Okay, it happened. Same thing with Bill Belichick. You cannot keep.
And then you
the
could
dude
add
out
in the 2 Super Bowls with the Giants
as the defensive coordinator.
Yes,
that's right. That's absolutely right. Just an absolute trap. There is nothing worse than Hall of Fame voters. What a self-righteous thing. We're gonna make a stand. We're gonna show him. And by the way, Wickersham and Van Natter report that Bill Polian, one of Bill Belichick's rivals back in the day, of course, told other voters that he believed Belichick should wait a year due to the 2007 Spygate case. By the way, the Patriots determined to have filmed the Jets' coaching signals from an unauthorized location. For those who forget what Spygate was about, they got a $500,000 fine for Belichick for that, $250,000 fine plus the loss of a first-round pick for the Patriots. And Deflategate ordered the deliberate deflation of footballs that were used in the Patriots' victory against the Colts during the 2014 AFC Championship, January of 2015. So you can blame Polian for that, but 10 other people also voted against
They
him
still voted against
on the
it.
first ballot. So you can't put it all on Polian. It's incredible, man. It's absolutely incredible. By the way, Brady was suspended also for Deflategate for the first 4 games of the 2016 season. Patriots fined $1 million, forfeited 2 draft selections in 2016. But when those things were happening, right, there isn't a little note at the end that says, oh, and you should mess with him when he's up for the Hall of Fame.
I know.
It's just so dumb.
I remember I was up at school actually when that Deflategate went down, because when I was working at my first news station, I was up in Dedham. I was supposed to interview with Brady because I went to a charity event with him and Guy Fieri, but that he wasn't taking any media at that time.
Let me do my little Joe Gibbs calculator here. If you gave Joe Gibbs Tom Brady, he would have won 45 Super Bowls, it says by my count here. Will Hill joins us now, courtesy of the Progressive Guest Line. You can follow him on Twitter at @NotTheWillHill. That's 2 E's on the "the." Once again, he is the host of the Shoulda Bet More podcast, which he does not once, not twice, but 3 times a week. How you doing, Will?
Gilly, what's going on? Yeah, playing all the hits this morning. I love it. Joe Gibbs, Barry Lamar Bonds. I love it. This is just a perfect show.
You don't go to the B cuts. You just play the hits because you never know who's punching in. They want to hear "Sexual Healing" by Marvin Gaye. They don't want to hear like the B track from that album. You know how it goes. All right, let's start with the NFL. Let's start with Super Bowl 60. Where do you land on side total? You thinking about some props? Have you bet anything yet? What's going on?
I have only made one bet. Keep in mind the bet I've talked about all year, various times, NFC minus 135. So I don't feel the need to add to Seattle, even though I do think Seattle's going to win. I'm afraid to fade this New England team, which everything seems to just be coming up. Sevens for them. They are just, whether it's opposing injuries. Remember, Nico Collins gets hurt for Houston. Chargers banged up offensive line. The weather last week, and Peyton not kicking. All of the stuff, and Stidham playing everything. I do think Seattle is better. The one bet I have made, Darnold, and you talked about it a little on Monday. Darnold at plus 130 for MVP. To me, there's value there. And for a while, I remember the Super Bowl where the Packers beat the Steelers. Like the Packers were a 3-point favorite, but you could get Rodgers like plus 140 for MVP. That was like a hidden little trick where you can get value on the Super Bowl of the team you thought was going to be win, or the quarterback of the team you thought was going to win. For a while, that disappeared where Mahomes and the Chiefs, the line was about the same. It wasn't worth it. Brady, the Patriots, the line was about the same. Wasn't worth it. This year, I mean, Seahawks are like minus 200, minus 220, and Darnold's plus 130 with the narrative being there. And who's the most likely guy to steal it? Jackson Smith and Jigba. Okay, if he has a big game, Darnold's going to have a big game. So I'm surprised they're giving you plus 130. I do think there's value there. The narrative is so strong. Was a high pick with the Jets. He's on his fifth team. Good guy. Everyone seems to like him. We talk about the media not liking Belichick. Nobody seems to have a bad word to say about Darnold, who seems to get along with everybody, seems to be liked by everybody. He'd have to play. I mean, what kind of game would it take for him to win the Super Bowl and not get MVP? I think it's obviously possible. I just think it's unlikely, and I do think there's value there at that plus price.
I agree with every word of that. You almost have to strain your brain to come up with a path where the Seahawks win and he does not get MVP. It's all things being equal, or even less than equal by a touch, he's getting it, one would assume. So you're right, even plus 130 may even represent value. I have, we have 2 weeks to talk about this, so I'm trying to vomit out every thought I have about this Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But isn't the more macro lesson, Will, on this, that pre-flop, before the season started, the Seahawks were roundly considered by many they were going to finish last in the NFC West. Like, we forget that, right? They were going to finish behind Arizona, according to many. And then in the case of the Patriots, I mean, my goodness, were they even going to? They weren't going to compete with Buffalo. Remember, Buffalo was fait accompli. They were going to win the East. Some people thought Patriots might even finish third. I'll raise my hand on that. Patriots were 80-1 to win it all. The Seahawks were 60-1. Isn't the macro lesson that none of us knows a damn thing in this league?
That's right. We know nothing. I mean, how many shows did you listen to? How many shows would we had to have done before we got around to, what I think is going to happen? Patriots are going to play the Seahawks. I mean, not one person said that. It's just, it's such a good point. I will add one more thing too, just for those of us that get intel regarding the halftime show of the Super Bowl. I've heard whispers. I've heard through the grapevine, be careful this year. The powers that be were not happy that some of the stuff leaked last year, and there might be some misinformation leaked just to see who leaks what to who. So be careful. People bet, first song, last song of the halftime show. I heard they were not happy that everything leaked. Remember, the whole set list got leaked and was on Twitter a few days before the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. So be careful. I'm not saying don't bet it, but don't think that you've got the correct answer to the quiz. There might be a little bit of a curveball coming. I've heard.
That is good intel on the intel. So it's like a curveball of intel to not trust the intel. In other words, this is the first year I don't know anything Bad Bunny-ish, and I'm not going to even act like I would have any idea here. Are you familiar with his work at all? No,
I am not, but yeah. I've done well in sometimes you get the information and sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. I would just say this year, be careful who you listen to.
Anything else on the Super Bowl? No, nothing else. That's your only bet so far.
You guys hit it well the other day where bet the overs early, bet the unders late. I think that's good with May over rushing yards, Smith and Jigba over. That stuff generally leaks up where you can get 4 or 5 yard middles. So I'm with you there. I'm leaning towards Seahawks winning and covering with a 27-17-ish type of game. It's an interesting stat where Seattle, I don't know if you saw this, 9-game winning streak. I think they've given up like 130 points in those 9 games. And about half of them are to the Rams, like 64 of them are to the Rams, and then the other half are in the other 7 games combined. So is Seattle vulnerable defensively, or do they just have a problem with Stafford and the Rams, and they're dominant against everybody else? I know Shots in the Football Outsiders DVOA stuff has them as an all-time, I think 6th best team of all time. I can't quite get there with that, but they are better than the Patriots. They are better than the teams the Patriots have played. Does that manifest in a 1-game setting? We'll see, but I do lean towards Seattle winning this game and covering.
Is Bad Bunny's first song, Will, going to be Baile Inolvidable, Titi me preguntó, La Mudanza? All those. All possibilities. Just want to point that What did you think? We're going to get to college hoops and baseball on the other side, but real quick, what did you think about Nebraska and Michigan last night? Do you feel better about Nebraska even in defeat?
Yes, especially playing shorthanded. Tough place to play. Obviously, tough loss to blow a big lead, but how about if you had the over? That game was soaring over. At one point, the live total was like 182.5, 183, and it didn't even touch 150. That stayed under somehow. That's just, boy, go for a walk if you had that over.
They scored a combined 98 points in the first half, and 5 minutes into the second half, they had only added 6 points to that. And I think it was 22 halfway through the second half. It was just an incredible tale of two halves. And of course, Nebraska, once again, without two of their best players in this ball game. So we'll come back.
Those were wild times. Betting squares for the big game has come a long way.
Now with the Circus Sports app, you can select your Circus Squares right at your fingertips.
Everyone's played traditional squares at a big game watch party. Here at Circus Sports, we do it a whole lot better.
Select your own squares and as many as you want.
$1 minimum bet and a $100,000 maximum payout.
And best of all, no more arguing over the squares.
Circus Squares brought to you by Circus Sports, the world's largest sports book at your fingertips.
Elevate your sports betting game with VSiN's exclusive betting splits. Stay ahead with real-time market trends and track bet percentages on any matchup. Then uncover the edge by comparing them to the amount of bets placed to find out where the sharp money is headed. Upgrade to VSiN Pro to access betting splits, live odds, line moves, power ratings, and in-depth game analysis. Go to vsin.com/pro to join VSiN, the sports betting network.
This is VSiN, the sports betting network. VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Back on a numbers game, live from Circa Resort Casino, downtown Las Vegas. Gil Alexander, Danny Higgins. Danny. In for the, I keep wanting to say the vacationing Kelly Bill, and he's not on a vacation. Poor kid's got a migraine.
Yeah.
Kelly hopefully back tomorrow. We get tweets beating the book. Wet Willie Colon. Unbelievable bad beat Musetti. He adds, what was that whole theory with the cat in the box yesterday morning? Seems fitting. Oh, yeah, the Schrodinger's cat. That if a cat's in a box, this is a 1935, this is how they thought about it in 1935. If a cat's in the box, we don't know if it's alive or not until we observe it. So when people are waking up to the Musetti thing, they don't know if they've won it or not. It's so bad. This is from Sports Savant. Stayed up for this. So sorry, man. Schrodinger's Novak. Oh, people liked the Schrodinger thing yesterday. Capping lines and betting dimes. Just one word. He says, pain. Sports Savant, quoting me from yesterday, says, you said, I have Musetti to win the quarter, but I'm not betting him tonight because, well, he's Novak. Yeah, that's exactly what I said. S. Watson, that's an awful way to lose your Musetti quarter winner bet. Terrible luck. Djokovic could have clawed back from 2-0, of course, but that still stinks to lose on an injury default. Yeah, he wasn't clawing back. One would not have thought watching that. Joe Lettieri, did that just happen? Lorenzo had that on lock. Novak was mentally checked out, outmatched, cooked, heartbreaking. Forrest Lehman, Drew knew it would be another gut punch in the Joker match. Yeah, but even Drew didn't know about being by injury. That was one heck of a way to lose that. By the way, congratulations for every bad beat. There's a good outcome, right? Ben Wilson had that bet yesterday on the show. Musetti to win the first set, Djokovic to win the match.
Plus 380.
So he cashes his plus 380. Yes. I was like, Ben, don't ever complain about a bad beat ever again. 3 Jack H3131, waking up to see Musetti retired after being up 2-0 makes me not want to even bother with the rest of the day. Oh, God. Old guy, get off my lawn. Wow, Schrodinger's cat just punched me in the you-know-what. I woke up to see Musetti up 2 sets, but retires to lose. Of course, my bet is scored a loser. That may be an all-time bad beat for me. Yeah, it's up there. Spence, bet a nickel. You had the value for the Musetti quarter 3 win, was looking forward to celebrating a big plus money win together. Instead, we're left thinking about his nether regions. So true. Oh, man. It continues. Ray in Texas, brutal beat on that quarter bet on Musetti might warrant a hug from Kelly today. Kelly's not here to hug me. I have to get one from Danny. Brian Heap, Gil, if we're going to use the logic that Belichick shouldn't be a first ballot Hall of Famer, I like this, then Brady shouldn't be either, right? After all, Brady benefited from the scandals and added to his legacy. Such a dumb rationale. Both are the very definition of first ballot. Brian, I totally agree with that. Totally agree with that. Yeah. Oh, I'm sure you're not going to put Tom Brady in on the first ballot then, right? I don't know why I said that like Glenn Close in Fatal Attraction. I'm not going to just be ignored.
If you don't put Belichick in, how can you put Brady in?
These guys are unbelievable. Tronsky, hey Gil, hell of a bad beat on your quarter Musetti bet last night. I was with you at plus 240. Rough, however, as bad as Novak looked. I wonder if you're on board with a Sinner 3-0 bet. I nuked it at minus 138. Novak looks done. I would not be surprised at all if Sinner shuts him out. 3 sets to love. And Matthew Steinhardt, not to sound like a Bills fan, but from a future standpoint this week, it's been brutal from a football/tennis outcome. What a gut punch these past few days have been. Well, I hope you're on with Pagula anyway. Michael Burns, I was shocked to find out Nebraska has never won an NCAA tourney game ever. I guess it's a football school, someone. Yeah, they're the only power conference school to never have won a NCAA bracket, an NCAA tournament game. Oh. Northwestern was the previous one that had not won, and now Nebraska is the only one left. And here they are just with one loss on the year. JD in Florida woke up at 3:30 to check result of Musetti Joker and almost cried. Had a future at plus 220 last night on Musetti, up 2 sets and retires. Michael Burns, that Joker magic, awful, just awful. And Ace Hunt, there's no more fun bet than the Super Bowl anthem length. Thank you for all you do for us, and especially the Chuck Woolery 2-2 reference this morning. Yinzers, have a great day. We'll go into more tweets. We can overrun the show with them. I'll get to the rest coming up. Will Hill, kind enough to join us again here for a second segment. Will, you have some college hoops bets today? Oh, God, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm good. I played TCU. You got me, right? I played TCU plus 7.5. I just think you look at their results. They have pretty much played competitive with everyone. They beat Florida. They only lost by 4 to Michigan. They had that game against Kansas a couple weeks ago where they led the whole way and should have won, but didn't, lost in overtime. I know it's not a great spot. Houston's off of a loss. 7.5 points is just a lot of points. I feel like the spot is really baked in here for Houston. So TCU plus 7.5 at home is a play for me. Jamie Dixon's a good coach. They play hard for him. He got that rep at Pitt for, can't win the big one, a lot of early exits in March. And we were texting about this on the group chat last night. Look at what's happened at Pitt since. I mean, Jeff Capel feels like he's been there forever with very little results. So I don't mind backing Jamie Dixon plus the 7.5. And I took Butler plus 12.5 against St. John's. I just feel like St. John's is overvalued, week to week here, game to game. They trailed by 15 to Seton Hall, trailed by 16 to Xavier their last 2 games, came back and won both of them, but haven't covered. 12.5 is a lot here. They're not great at point guard. They're good defensively, but their effort kind of comes and goes too. I've been a little bit disappointed. I thought St. John's would be better than what they are. So Butler plus 12.5, TCU plus 7.5, couple dogs here on a Tuesday night, on a Wednesday night. And I will say this, watching college basketball, really, now that football is kind of in the rear view, boy, the last couple Marches, we haven't gotten a lot of upsets in the tournament. Last year was nothing. The year before was only a couple. I'm worried we only get very few here going forward. I don't want to say Cinderella's dead, but it feels like the mid-majors, I just don't know if anyone can compete with the top 10, 12 teams in the country the first round. I'm worried that chalk is going to prevail once again once the tournament comes around.
Will Hill, though, the man who called Florida Atlantic to get to the Final Four, we shall never forget. Never forget, one of the great megapods ever with you and Wishnev. And Jeff Parle's on there as well. Okay. Yesterday, Jeff Erickson was on the show from RotoWire, and he surprised me with 4 baseball season win totals. You are surprising us with some baseball plays. What do you have?
Oh, man, this warms me up just thinking about it because it is freezing here in Connecticut. It's snow all over the place, ice. It's cold. It gets dark early. It just makes me warmer. Just thinking about baseball, talking about baseball makes me warmer. I like the Orioles 5-1 to win the East. The Yankees are somehow the short shot. They always get the benefit of the doubt in the market because they're a public team. Look, Judge can get hurt. I know the pitching's pretty good, but they have not improved that team at all. And Baltimore, I think you just throw out last year. And Toronto, I know made the World Series. Let's see them do it again. It's a good division. I get that. But I just think Baltimore, every pitcher for them last year got hurt. They had so many injuries to the staff. Kyle Bradish is back. A lot of those pitchers will be healthier this year. And development is not always linear. Some of those position players regressed a little bit. It wasn't that long ago. It was 2 years ago, the Soto team with the Yankees, where the Orioles went toe-to-toe with them throughout the summer. Yankees eventually pulled away the last couple of weeks. But I think Baltimore at 5-1, you add Alonso to the lineup. That to me, that's going to be a good team. I think there's value on Baltimore at 5-1. And I'm going back to Texas. They burned me last year. They just could never get it going. They just couldn't hit. They would flirt with, making a run. They'd get close, and then they just drop a couple games. But you add Mackenzie Gore, and maybe being around DeGrom and less pressure being the third starter, he's got a lot of talent, and you've got a rotation with DeGrom, Eovaldi, Gore, and then a couple of lottery tickets. Jack Leiter and Kumar Rocker at the back of the rotation. Those guys were prize pitching prospects not that long ago. If you get one of those guys to pop, you're looking at an awesome rotation. You just need to get some offense. I think some of those guys, Wyatt Langford, a year older, Evan Carter has got good pedigree. Who knows? Seattle, is there a little hangover with that brutal loss in the ALCS? I think Texas at plus 420 or so to win the West is very live, Gilly.
We have not spoken about this, you and I, but I am very bullish on the Rangers also. I am very bullish on the Rangers. You had something else in baseball too, right? Not just those two.
Yeah, usually I'm under or past, but maybe this is just a new me. Maybe I'm just a more optimistic, more positive version of me. I like the White Sox over 65.5. This will be a fun one to sweat all summer. They're better. They were decent last year. They got to 60 wins, respectively to the year before. All of those prospects they got for Crochet, all the years of being bad. I think they've got a lot of young talent. 65.5 is not that unattainable of a number. That's a pretty low number to clear in a division where, all right, you get the Royals, the Tigers, Cleveland's probably going to regress. Who knows how lucky they can be this year. It's not a bad division, and they've got a lot of young talent. 65.5 is a low number. And I like the A's too. The A's, they probably don't have enough pitching to compete for a wild card spot, although I wouldn't say at 5-1 or so, them making the playoffs is the worst bet. That lineup is loaded. Kurtz is a future MVP bat. Rooker, Jacob Wilson, Langolier, Soderstrom, they are a loaded lineup. I'd love to see some of the totals. We had Jensen Lewis on the podcast. We were talking about, what are those totals going to be in some of those games, where they play, because you're going to be looking at 12.5. They can hit. Their pitching's not great, but I think they find their way close to 80 or so wins. So I like the A's over. I like the White Sox over. You say it all the time. Your instinct on these should usually be play the under. But those are two ones I just feel are a touch low, Gilly.
That's exactly how I look. I'm always, the instinct is to bet against the human achievement, like with the Guardians last year. But I'm with you on the Rangers. I'm with you on the A's. You told me Jensen, by the way, Jensen, of course, co-host By the Books before us with Captain America Dave Ross. You said he's high on the Giants. Man, I wish I believed that. How did he get there?
We went division by division. I said, should we even skip the NL West? Like, the Dodgers are obviously going to win. He goes, yes, but I think the Giants could be feisty. You know, Bader, the pitching. He knows the manager from being at Tennessee and working in college baseball. He didn't say they're going to win the division, but he thinks they can, I think, be a little bit better than people might think, to paraphrase him.
Oh, man, I hope he's right. Well, you can listen to Jensen on the Shoulda Bet More podcast 3 times a week, wherever you get your podcast. Will, pleasure, man. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks for having me. See ya.
Not the Will Hills, where you can find Will on Twitter. Greg Peterson's Fab Five next.
VSiN's player prop projection tool is now available for the NBA. Get projections for points, assists, rebounds, and more powered by Opta AI. On VSiN.com/NBA props, we line up our projections against the latest DraftKings odds so you can quickly spot mismatches and find value before the market adjusts. The NBA player prop projections tool is available exclusively to VSiN Pro subscribers. Check it out now at VSiN.com/NBA props and join us on the Sports Betting Network.
Join the guru, John Hansen, at the intersection of prop betting and fantasy sports on Prop Points, only on VSiN.
You know what? I'm going to blame Andy Reid for cronyism because Matt Nagy stinks. A guy like Jefferson, you got to be a part of the solution, not part of the problem, and he's been part of the problem.
John and his guests will help you find the connection between the two and give you his expert advice on how to capitalize when a number is too good to pass up. Prop Points, weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on VSiN.
VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Football meets flavor with VSiN and Omaha Steaks, the official sponsor of tailgating. And right now, when you spend $129, you can score 2 pounds of fully cooked chicken wings plus 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com/VSIN. Don't wait. Spend $129, get 2 pounds. That's 2 pounds of wings. And save 50% site-wide on steaks and more at omahasteaks.com/VSIN. That's omahasteaks.com/VSIN. Minimum purchase required. See site for details. Gil Alexander, we get tweets, beating the book. Jay Buckley, stellar show per usual. Just booked the Vegas trip for 2026. Looking forward to catching up late June and seeing Crack, too. Have a great day, fellas. Thank you, Jay. You, too, as well. Have a great day. Rob Graham, good morning. A numbers game team minus Kelly. If he's listening, I can relate with getting migraines at the odd time, so definitely sending prayers for a quick recovery. Also, weather update up here in northern Saskatchewan. Last night, minus 49 wind chill. Northern Saskatchewan. Man, stay warm, Rob. Chris Heath. Super Dave said Kelly and Danny were up next. He said, I was going to set the over-under on Gil took the day off to cancel his timeshare tweets at 25.5.
No. Dave was having some issues this morning with connection.
The cold is getting to him.
Yeah.
Schizo 360. I tailed you on Musetti to win the quarter, but I still stayed up late to hedge at plus 375. When Djokovic went down 2 sets, I was worried about Djokovic being Djokovic, not an injury. At least Pagula got home. I tailed that as well. Thanks, Gil. Glad it worked out for you, Schizo. Oh, and this is a great tweet. Billy Charlebois is pointing out this tweet from Brandon Anderson. He said, thought this graphic was absolutely incredible. To extend their opponent in week 1 and week 3 in the playoffs, the OC was fired. Oh, he's extending this graphic. Week 3 regular season was Tomlin who technically quit. What he's referring to, can we show this graphic here, Danny? This is Brandon Anderson put this out. Brandon Anderson work at The Athletic or at Action. I can't remember where he works. Apologies to Brandon. But he put out this tweet at Wheaton Brando. This is the Patriots schedule this year and the results, right? Week 1, they played a fired coach. Week 2, fired coach. Week 3, fired coach. Week 4, NFC South. Week 5, fired coach. Week 6, NFC South. Week 7, 8, 9, fired coaches. Week 10, NFC South. Week 11, Jets. Week 12, Bengals. Week 13 through 16, fired coaches. Week 17, Jets. Week 18, fired head coach. Now, Patriots fans might say, well, we had something to do with them being fired. Well, you get the idea, though.
And Brandon works at Action Network.
Sorry about that, Brandon. Buddhist man, I went to sleep, cat thriving, living life. Woke up in the middle of the night, put my ear to the box, didn't hear anything. Shook the box, didn't hear anything. Opened the box, R.I.P. Lorenzo the cat. Went back to sleep. Woke up this morning, yep, Lorenzo the cat still dead. It's fantastic. A little thing like Schrodinger's cat thing gets so much mileage. By the way, easiest schedules by DVOA since 1978. There it is, Patriots 2025, third easiest. Only the 91 Bills and 99 Rams. Super Bowl teams, by the way, had easier schedules. So there's that. Ladies and gentlemen, he's always kind to join us, talk college basketball with us, and anything else that's on his mind. He can be found on Twitter at @GUnit_81. His tribute to Anquan Bolden. He has a 2,200-day-plus streak of consecutive college basketball podcasts. I'm not making up that number. It's been over a decade of him running at least 12 miles a day, I believe, or 9 years maybe it was. Ladies and gentlemen, he is one of a kind. Greg Peterson joins us now, courtesy of the Progressive Guest Line. Greg, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great, and you know what? There was a team that once thought that firing Mike Vrabel was a good move, and since they did, they have the worst record in the NFL, by the way, to add to that.
Yes, we said yesterday, Tennessee has won 6 football games since they fired Mike Vrabel. The Patriots have won 6 games since late December. That's the comparison.
Yeah.
Real quick, because I was thinking about this on the way in, because I know I was going to have a chance to talk to you before we get to college basketball. Haven't asked you about your dating life lately. It's not a dating life, right? You're a one-woman guy now? Is that correct?
I am a one-woman man. Yes, sir.
Okay. When it comes to, and again, if this gets too personal, please let me know. When it comes to, I'm just trying to get into the mind of Greg Peterson. We know you as this college basketball analytics, baseball fan graphs immersed guy. Do you is that like a foreplay thing? For like, how does it work with you? Like, how do you sort of get the lady in the mood? Does that stuff come up, or do you have game, as the kids call it? In other words.
That doesn't come up very often because she knows that from time to time I might need to dip out early to be able to break down more cell phone action.
He's got to dip out early. I'm sorry for the wildly inappropriate questions, Greg. Just people wanted to know, I think. All right, so Nebraska I want to ask this again about Nebraska and Michigan. So Nebraska is without Mast and Frager last night. They lead almost the whole. I mean, they were up double digits, right? In the first half, I'm like, what am I watching? Good God, are they the Indiana, if you will, of the Indiana football of basketball, where a traditional school in another sport is now doing just tremendous things in the sport they're not known for? I'll ask you what I asked Will earlier, which is, you feel better about this Nebraska team even in defeat than you did before this game?
They were down two of their top, I would say, 4 players in this game, and they very nearly won it on the road. And I felt like Michigan was overvalued. I think in this day and age, we have seen with legalized sports betting, these people see these lines that they think are, and air quotes here, traps, and they think, oh, of course, Michigan laying 10-plus points to a team that's undefeated. That has to be the right side. It has to be, right? I do think that we probably went a little bit too far with that, but with this Nebraska team, they do such a great job with their defense. They dare you to shoot it from 3. I think their one kryptonite is when they run into a team that's really, really good in terms of shooting threes. But I feel good about this Nebraska team. I do think that they are the real deal. And every single time people doubt this team, they seem to somehow, some way be able to get the job done. Even though they lost yesterday, and if you like me, I had the over 98 points in the first half, and it still doesn't get there.
Oh,
that's a little bit brutal, but still, with this Nebraska team, feeling really good about them.
So a legit Final Four contender, a legit championship contender, yes?
I have to say yes. This is their lone loss right now.
I think so,
you have to put Arizona at the top of the sport right now, but teams not named Arizona, Nebraska, Michigan are 2 teams that are right up there towards the top of the list along with UConn.
All right, Greg has about 47 picks, but we will reduce it to Greg's Fab 5. Let's begin with a total, Greg, in the St. John's game, I believe it is?
Yes, the St. John's Red Storm against Butler. I recognize that these 2 teams like to play up tempo. Both are in the top 40 in terms of total possessions, Brain, but St. John's limits the amount of clean possessions in a game by ranking in the top 35 in terms of turnovers generated on a per possession basis. Butler, a little bit of a sketchy 3-point shooting team, and St. John's, they themselves have had a little bit of a tough time figuring out the point guard spot, especially with Butler catching 12.5. I'm going to be willing to take the points with the underdog, but do think that St. John's is going to be able to do a rock-solid job with that defense. Zuby Ejiofor, multiple blocks per contest, and I feel like the totals went a little bit too high, especially with St. John's being a top 20 team in terms of points allowed on a per-possession basis at home. So on the under and Butler catching the points.
So, Danny, just so you're scoring at home, he doesn't use the metrics to get her into sexy time, but she is aware that Greg will dip out at some point because the metrics must be used for college basketball.
Yes.
I just want to get that straight. All right, now we have a side. Where are we going here next?
How about if we go with Minnesota versus Wisconsin? And I'm going to lay with Wisconsin. For Minnesota, some of the most demonstrative home and road splits that you're going to find. Top 25 team in terms of points allowed on a per possession basis at home. Bottom 25 team out of 365 teams in terms of points allowed on a per possession basis away from home. Wisconsin needed a buzzer beater to knock off Minnesota the first time around. With Minnesota, have to fear a hangover spot against the aforementioned Nebraska Cornhuskers. Completely blew that game. I'm willing to lay the number here with Wisconsin at home. Was 8.5, down to 7.5. Like it even more.
All right, back to a total now. What do you got here?
Absolutely. And with regards to this one, we've got ourselves, I do not know what they put on the graphic.
Well, we'll show you the graphic here once again because we're having trouble bringing it up too. But I do remember when it went total side total. Do you know what's next here, Danny, on the total?
Yes, we are going with Stanford and Miami.
Stanford and Miami total.
Stanford, Miami. I do like the under here, or the over here, because with Miami, this team has done a nice job in terms of cranking up the tempo. Top 115 team in terms of total possessions per game. And if I had to play right now, I would be looking at Stanford. They do a nice job in terms of generating turnovers, but they're very vulnerable from three-point range. Miami doing a great job on the boards with Malik Renew and company, and this is a Stanford team that's actually been more efficient on offense when they've been away from home rather than at home. So do you think that you get a higher scoring game like the over here, Miami versus Stanford at 147.5?
All right, Houston, TCU, the total set at 137.5. Which way are you going on that?
I'm going in on the under. Both of these teams gave up 90-plus points over the weekend, but both are built on defense, especially Houston. Top 5 team in terms of turnovers generated on a per-possession basis, just 317th in terms of total possessions per game. TCU, top 40 team in terms of turnovers generated on a per-possession basis. I do feel like both of these teams, after a rough weekend performance on defense, they make up for it here. I'm in on the under.
All right, and then an SEC battle between South Carolina and Florida. We went over the formula for the first time yesterday. Florida somehow qualifies. They are 10.5-point favorites here at home against the Gamecocks.
I think that they could get the job done, but give me the 10.5 here with South Carolina and the over with South Carolina. They're doing a really nice job in terms of protecting the ball. They're really good with their 2-point shooting percentage as well. Florida, bottom 30 team with their 3-point shooting percentage. They have not been able to get it going in the backcourt. And South Carolina, they actually do a really good job in terms of guarding the three. You have a pair of teams that don't generate a ton of possessions, so clean possessions be had in on the over and in on the points with South Carolina.
Greg, you're the best. Thanks for enduring my ridiculous questioning.